I'm sure you've probably wondered over the years why I wear long socks in all my videos, and hello and welcome, or welcome back. Today I'm going to be answering some questions that you all have asked me either on Twitter or on the community tab on here. Have you found stalking through your personal social media accounts to be an issue? Thankfully, no, but part of that is because I don't really have personal social media accounts. I do have an art Instagram, but I don't keep it updated with my current location. I don't post where I'm at anywhere. I don't have like a personal Snapchat or anything like that. And if anyone is claiming that they do have my personal Snapchat, then they are probably scamming you or catfishing you. One of the first things that I did when I signed up on Reddit under the TeenyGinger name was to go through my personal social media accounts and either set them to private or deactivate them altogether. I just didn't want to risk it. I don't want to risk the stalking side of it, and I also don't want to risk anybody harassing my family or my friends. It's just not worth the risk to me. So I only have my work accounts and then my art account. I do know though that that's an issue for other people. I've known other creators who have had fans who found their personal social media accounts that they thought that, you know, they had everything set to private, they had a you know, fake last name, they had all this stuff, but somehow the algorithm just recommended it to one of her fans, and thankfully nothing bad ended up coming of it, but it was, that's still scary. And it's still something that I'd like to avoid. So I don't have any personal social media accounts anymore. Do you have any tattoos? If not, would you, and what would it be? I do have tattoos. I have 2 tattoos, and I hide them in my videos with long socks. I'm sure you've probably wondered over the years why I wear long socks in all my videos, and I didn't want to be recognized in my videos. I didn't want people approaching me in public, but especially with my adventuring, my thru hiking, my hitchhiking, all of that, that's just a lot more dangerous if you have a public porn persona and somebody figures out who you are. I would hate to be approached by somebody on a trail and have them tell me, oh, hey, aren't you TeenyGinger? I love you. It's just like, oh, I don't know who you are. I don't have any way to really get immediate help if I need help. Yeah, thankfully, I've actually never been approached in public at all. I have been told by friends that they found my accounts over the years. And even though, yeah, we'll get into all that in a bit. Now that I show my face though, and my tattoos are out there, I have been thinking about getting some kind of arm piece for my PCT hike. I was thinking something that incorporates, I don't know, something from California, Oregon, and Washington, you know, working its way up my arm. But I still don't know yet, and I want to wait until I know for certain that it's something that I want to get before I put it on my body forever. And I want to wait until I find the right artist too. The artist who did my other piece, the last that I saw, she's not tattooing anymore. And also I've moved states several times since then. So I would need to find somebody. And also I'm looking for a different style this time too. I think. I want to go more like a photorealism sort of a thing, but I'm not sure yet. I'm so happy you recovered from a dark time in your life. I definitely understand depression is hard. From experience, do you have any mental health advice to share? That's a good one. I do, but it's stuff that you honestly are probably tired of hearing. Things like, take a deep breath when you get anxious. It's really difficult making that a habit. I still struggle with that. When I get nervous or anxious, I start breathing shallow and fast. That's not, it's not a healthy coping mechanism. That doesn't actually help anything. I need to be breathing slow and deep. But that's a whole lot easier said than done. Same thing with try to be on a regular schedule or some kind of routine. It's a lot of our lives are spent on autopilot, whether that's, you know, brushing our teeth and doing our hair or driving to work. You know, you ever show up at work and you're just like, well, I don't even remember driving here. I hope that I drove well, you know, because it just, you go on autopilot. And if your autopilot is on the way to work, you're also, you know, smoking a cigarette and eating a candy bar. There's so many days in the year you're going to be eating so many candy bars and smoking so many cigarettes, and honestly probably not even remembering it half the time. Or consciously making the decision to do it most of the time. It's just the habits that you've gone through. I would really recommend The Power of Habit. I know that it's a lot of pretty generic advice, but honestly just reading that book has gotten me in the habit of reading every morning. I set aside time that, you know, every morning I read at least 20 to 30 minutes. Sometimes it's fiction, sometimes it's nonfiction, but it's something that I just do now. It's just part of my day. That's part of my routine. So, all that to say, routines help, although I know that for a lot of us, we really struggle with keeping routines. I definitely struggle with keeping a routine, but it is something that helps. Especially good sleep hygiene. I know that that's something you've heard a million times probably, but getting to bed at a regular time, it doesn't have to be an early time. It just needs to be a regular time. You know, as long as you're getting enough sleep. It doesn't really matter when you start sleeping, at least in my opinion. I know that there's probably some science about the light cycle and circadian rhythms and all that, but in my opinion, 80% good is better than 20% good, you know? So, like, as long as it's consistent, you know, and as long as you're getting enough, then, yeah, I don't think you should be too hard on yourself. That's another big mental health thing, is good inner talk. Whenever you have that little voice in your head talking to you, or just like narrating whatever you're doing, or if you even have that voice in your head, I know some people don't, which I'm kind of envious of. It's exhausting. I would really recommend Theremin Tree's whole channel, actually, but especially the video on rumination. If you also struggle with intrusive, almost compulsive thinking, where you feel trapped by certain thought cycles and you have no way out of them, or you find yourself constantly thinking about something or thinking about a past event, I would highly recommend his videos for different coping strategies for that, and just a better explanation than I would be able to give you. I'm not a therapist. As much as I play one online, I'm not a therapist, and I would recommend seeking out actual mental health advice from a licensed medical professional. If you're able to, you can think of it as investing in yourself. That's how I try to think of it. I really struggle with taking time for myself, good self-care, all those things that, the buzzwords that have been in the news about therapy. But I also just need to remember to give myself time, space, and grace to grow and change. I've been trying to remember that. So be kind to yourself. That's the biggest one. I hope that answers the question. I feel like I said a lot of things, but I don't know if that's exactly what you were looking for. Going to the next part here. 3. It feels weird because I separate your videos to these. Like it feels like 2 different people. I hope you understand what I mean. Anyway, would you ever do a full body video? JOY. So this is also multiple parts within the same question, but just to answer the last part of that first, yes, I have done a full body JOI. It's on sierraroads.com, which I'll link somewhere, which is basically just like my ManyVids profile. I have it discounted pretty heavily right now, actually, because of all of this face reveal stuff. I don't plan on making it available for free. It's not really something that I want to have on my free sites or my free profiles. I would rather just keep it behind a paywall. Maybe at some point in the future, I might decide to do like full everything JOI, but right now, I'm just not feeling it, you know? And you can't rush art. You can't rush art, and you can't rush the creative process. And if I were to try to film one right now, full face, you see how awkward I am right now. Like, I'm not very comfortable yet showing my full face, seeing it on the camera, being able to see my face in the editing process, all of it, and just knowing that my face is seen, and that mental thing of, okay, well, what facial expression am I making? Am I making the right one? Am I nodding appropriately? Am I accidentally shaking my head when I'm saying something positive and then somebody's gonna misinterpret? And like, all of that, I feel would cloud the porn side of it. It would cloud the enjoyment for the viewer, and it would cloud the enjoyment for me. So the long and the short of it, maybe I'll film something like that in the future. But right now, I don't have any plans for that, no. So then going back to the first part, how it feels weird that you see my face now and you're trying to separate it in your mind. And that's something that I think is fascinating. I went on, I recently updated my Twitter bio to say something like Madonna and whore, because I think that it's so, the Madonna whore complex is so fascinating, or just, and I know that a lot of it's, you know, been debunked or proven, it doesn't apply to everyone, every situation, but the idea that somebody would have a difficult time being attracted to someone they care about is fascinating to me, because that's like the exact opposite of the way that I experience sexual attraction. So it's a mindset that I'm interested in, and I'm really interested to see going forward if people are able to take me seriously as a content creator here on YouTube, given my adult entertaining too. You always see things where, you know, whenever a porn star is in the news, it says, yeah, like porn star does this and that, or OnlyFans model this and that. It's never Sierra Rhodes does this, you know, like I think of myself as an artist overall because I love making people feel things. Whether that's erotic feeling, you know, attraction, arousal, lust, those are all feelings. You feel them in your body the same way that you can feel happy in your body. Feel when somebody betrays you and you feel that punch to your gut. That's a feeling. And there's such great art that's applauded for being great art, for making you feel like you got punched in the gut. That makes you feel bad. But at the same time, like, that's good. It's good that you're feeling something. And it's good to feel it at such depth. But I just think it's wild that people don't praise things that make you feel good and aroused and attracted and attractive and all of those things. You know, I hope I'm explaining myself well enough, but I think of myself as an artist, and I hope that by sharing more of myself on here, and also, you know, I'm setting the stage here where it's familiar for you, and hopefully you recognize that I am the same person, and over time I'll be able to, I don't know, combine my life even more. Do you think you'll ever have any children? And if yes, how many would you prefer? No, I don't want kids. I've known since I was probably 14 or 15 that I don't want my own kids. I do enjoy being around kids. I'm not one of those people that just hates children or is mad at people who have kids or anything like that. I'm not an antinatalist at all. I just don't personally see myself as being a mother. It's not really a role that I want in my life. I really enjoy spoiling my friends' kids. One of the greatest things about being in the industry for so long and like having the status that I do now is that I'm able to spend my money pretty freely on my friends and my family, and part of that is being the wealthy, rich aunt to my friends' kids. So I don't see myself having kids personally. I have made the joke though that I would have kids if I got to be the dad. You know, if I got to play the like traditional male role in a family, I could see myself having kids. But unfortunately, I am a woman and I'm not a trans man, so I don't really see that ever happening. And also, the body changes that come with pregnancy kind of wig me out. I know that like it's beautiful in the life creation sense, but just personally, that gives me a lot of anxiety, and I don't want that. I don't want to be pregnant. No. Lately, I've seen a large amount of women coming from platforms like Twitch to starting adult content creation and burning out after a few months. In the context of mental health, would you have any advice for the people considering starting out and those that have stalled? Yes, I have a lot of advice around this, but the first one is for the fans, not the creators, but the fans. And part of it is you need to recognize a lot of people have a lot of shame around being sexual or displaying their sexuality publicly. A lot of women really struggle with taking pictures and videos of themselves and really struggle putting on the persona. It takes a long time to really feel comfortable on camera. It is a learned skill, and it takes a long time to feel comfortable being naked on camera. That's a whole new level of exposed, and especially if they're already a content creator elsewhere, they've probably been showing their face the whole time, and the expectation is for them to have their face in these videos that they might start, like, sure, they might be enjoying it at the beginning, but over time it might drain or get taxing, or they might just lose interest, or they might not be making the kind of money that they were expecting to make, or they made all of the money that they wanted to make from that, and it's time for them to go back to Twitch streaming or whatever other platform they were already on, and they're just done with it. And sometimes the public excuse for that is, well, I'm burnt out. I can't do this anymore, I'm done. When the internal excuse, or the internal reasons might be things like, it's conflicting with my schedule, it's just mentally taxing for me, maybe their partner no longer feels comfortable with it, but they don't even publicly say that they have a partner. Maybe a bajillion reasons. So I say all that to say, not everyone who starts in the adult entertainment industry wants to be in the adult entertainment industry long term. It's something that, for the people who do it, like, I mean, I've been doing this for almost 6 years now, which is considered a long time in the industry. But when I started out, I wasn't really thinking that it was going to be that long. I kind of saw this as a stepping stone to something else, or as just something that would be in the background, and eventually I would move on from it and keep going, but I just fell in love with it. And I've been really fortunate in the fan base that I have. I've cultivated a lot of, like, really good people over the years. My OnlyFans is a cool place to hang out. And even now, on this YouTube, I've been getting so many great comments, such a great positive response from everyone. I'm really happy with how this is going. There have been, like, a few different negative things that I've gone through and, like, you know, block and delete and all that, but whatever. That's part of being on the internet, is you're gonna get opinions, both good and bad. So, I guess coming back around to the question then, that is part of it too, is that it's very draining to constantly have your body be sexualized. And I know that that's like, well, that's part of the job, but you can think something and know it, like, know it logically in your head, but not understand the emotional side of it. Of once you're looking at a picture of you on the computer and a bunch of people are saying things that they might even think it's a compliment, you know, but it's so grotesquely worded, or it's so, it's just such a long, very descriptive, or it's something that you've been insecure about. Like, whenever I get, like, acne, I'll get people commenting, oh, such a cute little pimple. Like, okay, like, I get that for you, this is something that you like, but for me, I was just hoping that nobody would even mention that I had a pimple and I could just pretend it doesn't exist. So, yeah, it's not, and again, that's not something that's horribly negative and horribly bad that you would want to then come out and say, well, I can't do OnlyFans anymore because I'm getting too many positive comments about things I'm insecure about. Like, then people are just gonna comment more, and so it makes more sense to just say, well, it's just not for me, or I'm done, or whatever. Yeah, a little insight into my world there. I get some interesting comments. And it's funny too, because I try not to classify anything as being weird, especially after been doing this for so long, and the definition of weird, the boundary of weird has expanded so far that at this point, very little shocks me. I don't really see things as being weird. It's just, okay, it's slightly outside the range of normal. It's very outside the range of normal, but, you know, people are people. But I feel like getting to that point and that level of, I mean, losing that sensitivity to the grotesque or the awkward or the sexual are things that not everyone can do and not everybody wants to do. Not everyone wants to lose that ick factor when they see something that's like, whoa, that makes me, you know, if you get that feeling. Some people don't even have that feeling at all, which I also find fascinating. I do still get that feeling with certain things. There's certain, you know, graphic images I'll see that I'm just like, you know, I get that physical startle response. And same thing with like horror movies and that sort of stuff. But yeah, I'm rambling. Let's answer the next question now. From your content, I gather that mental health is important to you. What are some self-care routines that worked well for you? Something that I haven't talked about anywhere, and especially not anywhere publicly yet, is I suffer from body-focused repetitive behaviors. I have both trichotillomania and excoriation disorder, which is also known as dermatillomania. Both of them fall under that same category of BFRBs. And I'm on the mild side of the spectrum for both of them in my daily life. But sometimes when the anxiety gets rough, I start picking and pulling again. And that's part of the reason that I don't have very much foot content. Is one of my bad habits is picking at my toenails. Or picking at the skin on my feet. So little trigger warning, I'll put a timestamp in here so you know when to come back in. This can be kind of a little much for some people. But when the anxiety gets really bad, I'll pull the skin off of my heel entirely, sometimes both of my heels. And it's embarrassing, at least for me. You know, I know that it's something that I know that it's something that I can eventually learn to control. And so it's very embarrassing and upsetting to me that I haven't done that yet. But especially like my fingernails are always a little bit down, you know, to the quick. My hair is very thin, because I'll often pull out hair, but usually it'll be like hair on my legs. There have been times that, especially when I was younger, I used to sit and watch TV and just pull all of the hair off of a leg. And for a long time, I just thought that that was just like a weird thing that I did. And I tried to hide it. I mean, even still, I don't really tell people why I'm walking around on my tiptoes. I just do it when things have gotten that bad. But one of the self-care routines that I've picked up for my picking and pulling is bracelets. which I don't know why I didn't think of before. I always fiddle with my hands. I like having something to fiddle with, and having a bracelet that, you know, so like this one's kind of fun because I can wind it and do this and fiddle with it that way. Or you can do, yeah, just any kind of something that you can, you know, take off and start pulling through the hands like this when I'm watching TV and I go in that autopilot mode of what happens with my hands when I watch TV. I start finding stuff on my feet, or finding stuff on my nails, or my arms. I'm slowly changing the habit to, when I watch TV, what do my hands do? They go to my bracelet. So I hope that helps a little bit. I do want to make a full video about my experiences with having BFRBs and having them for so long. It's something that I've been ashamed about in the past, but I'm trying to learn to accept more, and part of that acceptance is talking about it. Where is your favorite place you've been, and where do you want to go someday? That's a tough one. Because I've been, I mean, not to brag, but I've been a lot of cool places before. I've been to a lot of places that I would love to go back to. My favorite place is probably the High Sierra mountain range in California. It's part of the Pacific Crest Trail and also the John Muir Trail. They go through that mountain range, and that couple 100 miles of trail is just one of the coolest places in the country. Kings Canyon, especially, like, oh man, going up over Forester Pass and then descending down into, oh, just spiritual experience level, otherworldliness. That was one of those places that quite literally took my breath away. I just no words to describe how absolutely jaw-droppingly gorgeous it is. If you are fortunate enough to be able-bodied and are able to hike in, I would highly, highly recommend doing it. You know, at least once in your life, hopefully more, but oh my goodness. Yeah, the Sierra Nevadas in California, definitely my favorite place. And someday I would love to go to New Zealand. I've never been to New Zealand or Australia, but I've heard that the hiking in New Zealand is just also otherworldly, and that's something I really want to experience. I've also heard that the traveler culture there is really open and accepting, and I feel like it would be my kind of people who'd be hanging out and traveling through there. So I would love to go to New Zealand someday. What are your hobbies and interests? I'm very into painting. I actually have a painting Instagram where it's just completely dedicated to my art. I also sew images into the, I sew fabric into the canvas to do mixed media pieces. And eventually I want to put those up for sale, but right now it's just a hobby for me. I also play guitar, though I haven't been playing as much recently. Every now and again I still pick it up and I can still play some chords, but I haven't been getting ready for any open mics or really singing much. So I'm also very interested in insects. Entomology is a big hobby of mine. I love isopods, especially, and ants. I have several ant colonies that I keep just as pets, and several different isopod colonies that I keep as pets. I have a bunch of terrariums and paludariums and an aquarium. I'd love to show you all of that stuff. I feel like this video is gonna be like so long, but at some point I would love to go through and do like a pets tour or something. That would be fun. Have you shared what you do with your family? What do you tell acquaintances when they ask what you do? This is a very good question. Thank you. I have come out to my family. I haven't come out to all of the extended family, but they all know that I work online, and you know, I'm pretty sure my extended family knows that something's up. So, at least the ones that I haven't come out to personally. I did come out to my immediate family personally, and just for their own privacy, I'd like to not talk about them on this channel. I don't think that that's really appropriate for them, or at least until they tell me that they're comfortable with that. So, but when I meet new people, or just with acquaintances that I don't really know very well, I usually just say I'm an artist. I'll either say that I'm an artist or that I work in social media marketing, depending on the situation. Artists, they always ask a bunch of questions, which is actually fun because I love talking about my art. I don't usually talk about the erotic art at first until I've gotten to know them a little bit more and know that that's something that they would feel comfortable with. Because my biggest concern is making people feel uncomfortable when I come out to them. I know that some people are very uncomfortable and just offended by pornography in general, and I would hate to put somebody in that situation of being put on the spot like that. That's not me. So I usually like to just kind of suss people out a little bit first. But another thing too is when I say that I work in social media marketing, 9 times out of 10, they just say, okay, and the conversation keeps going. Or they just say, oh, that's interesting. Or, huh. Or they'll say, oh, so what is that? And I'll just, oh yeah, I work online from home, which is really nice for my schedule, and it's nice for my hobbies because I'm really passionate about art, or I'm really passionate about insects. And then I start talking about things that I actually, you know, am comfortable sharing with strangers, and not stuff that I like to get to know people a little bit more first. But all my friends that I hang out with in person know what I do. They don't know my username as far as I know. Like maybe they've probably run across it at some point in time, honestly. But it's not something that I go around saying like, I'm TeenyGinger. You know, I just tell people that, you know, I do OnlyFans. And it's surprising. I don't know why I'm surprised actually, because it's becoming so mainstream, but I always get a positive reaction from friends that I come out to. And maybe part of that is because I'm careful about which friends I come out to. But I think the closest to a negative reaction that I've gotten was a friend who said that he was a little bit disappointed because he had struggled with porn addiction in the past. But after we talked about it more and talked about kind of the way that I approach it, where my mindset is I see myself kind of like a brewmaster, brewing beer, you know, where once I've created the product and sell it, then it's up to the consumer to manage their consumption responsibly. And so if I brew a bunch of beer and somebody, you know, buys a 12-pack and drinks the whole thing all at once, you know, there's only so much that I can do to mitigate the damage that they're able to do to themselves. And I also I don't feel that that's my responsibility as the performer. And, you know, just hearing his side of things more too was really interesting and eye-opening for me, and kind of shaped the way that I approached things like aftercare, and a lot of my public persona, you know. I feel like I have been more open than a lot of creators to talking about the issues with addiction, with overspending, with humiliation, and like the neural pathways that can develop, and that sort of stuff. But at the same time, I also feel like as long as everyone's a consenting adult, you do you, man, you know? So, yeah, thankfully all my friends have been very accepting. Usually they have a couple of questions and then the conversation moves on. I don't really talk about it in a very blatant way. You know, I talk about it kind of like this, where I'm not just being explicit in my language and talking through exactly what I do in my videos. You don't really need to in order to get the gist of what I do for a living. Roughly how old actually are you? You've always struck me as older than Teeny. Well, I hope that at some point I would strike you as older than Teeny, considering this has been 6 years now. If I were still, oh my goodness, if I were Teeny, that would kind of be a problem, I think, at this point. But no, I must admit, when I started my TeenyGinger profile, I was 22. So I'm now 28 years old. I am a couple years away from 30. What I've always celebrated as my birthday is still the birthday. It's the day that Sierra was born, the day that TeenyGinger was born, November 3rd. But that's not the day that I, as a human, that I was born. I was actually born in June. So, yes. I know that this has been something that a lot of people have suspected over the years, and I honestly didn't think was going to be that big of a deal, or that big of an issue, or that big of a surprise, really, since it's pretty commonplace. Most performers will use like a fake birthday and a fake birth year, partially for privacy concerns, but also just for the sexualization of it. A lot of people find certain ages to be erotic and certain points in life to be erotic, and so it makes sense for me to capitalize on the fact that I look like that age, especially when my face wasn't in it. Like, I still get carded all the time, so I like to think that I look pretty young still. But no, I am actually 28 years old. What's your favorite movie or TV show? Well, I'm pretty sure by now you've guessed that I really like Rick and Morty. I wasn't as big of a fan of the newest season as the older ones, but I think that part of that is just the nostalgia factor, and once I've watched the newer episodes as many times as I've watched the older episodes, then I'll have that same nostalgia and love them just as much. It's actually a life fantasy of mine to do a voiceover on Rick and Morty. or really any Justin and Roiland project. That would just be a dream come true. Oh my god, that'd be so cool. Be so cool. Yeah. I also really like the show BoJack Horseman, which ended beautifully. I'm so happy that it's over. You know, it's not often that I would say that about a show, but it just ended perfectly, and it wrapped up for everyone that it needed to wrap up, and it didn't wrap up for the one that, you know, things really shouldn't have a happy ending. So, that's one of those shows that every couple of years or so I'll go through and rewatch all of it, binge the whole thing, and really get depressed. I get so depressed when I watch that show. But sometimes you need to feel depressed, and you need that to be empathizing with somebody going through so much emotional pain and turmoil and not handling it properly. So I really like that one. This is getting to be a very long video. I was not expecting to be in here recording for over an hour. It's gonna be a lot shorter once I chop it up though, probably. I should have brought some water in here. Lesson learned for next time. My voice is getting a little bit hoarse. But now it's time to go edit this and put some pictures in it and all the screenshots, and I'm excited. So, oh, one last thing. So I have this plaque up here. It's my Pornhub 100,000 subscriber plaque. But I noticed that when I'm on the computer, it says that I have 300,000 subscribers. When I'm on my phone, it says that I have 268,000 subscribers. Just like a huge difference. So I'm hoping that soon they will send me a 300,000 plaque, but we'll see. I'm including this in here and hoping that someone on the Pornhub team figures out what's going on with my numbers and fixes that. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. Remember to drink lots of water. It's very important for you. You gotta water yourself, water your plants, water your pets. Water is good. Thank you so much for watching.